Welcome to another episode of our personal empowerment audio program, Finding Yourself in Paradise. Hi, I'm Michael Benner.
And I'm Steve Snyder, and our program today is on what I think is one of the sweetest faces of the thing we call love. We call it kindness. Generosity, giving, helping, being nice, but I think kindness is just a nice big word to wrap around the idea of caring and loving and sharing with other people.
You know, I've heard news accounts that bullying in schools is a real problem of late, and certainly there have always been bullies. But there was in this particular article I read, Steve, this whole discussion of what do you do to fight against bullying? How do you protect these kids, right? And I was thinking, well, maybe instead of protecting the kids who are victims of being bullied, you could just teach the bully to be kind and show them all the benefits that come from being kind. Remember that movie, My Bodyguard?
Sure.
It's sort of like, he hired a bigger bully, I guess. But what came out of it, after all, was more than just my bodyguard relationship. There was a friendship and some kindness, actual interest in each other that came out of that, which I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was kind of a nice value you got out of that movie. But the basic idea, though, of identifying bullies really early in their lives, because you can start seeing these behaviors at 2, 3, 4 years old, and start to teach those kids especially how to be kind, how to take that rage or that frustration or that anger or whatever's going on inside them that causes them to be unkind, and to manage that, to work effectively with that. I've always had a theory that, some people have overactive amygdalas. They're just, when they feel scared or something, they lash out. I mean, we have fight or flight. Some people fly, some people fight, and those that you see it in little children when they start pinching or start hitting or start being inappropriate with their physicalness. Those are the kids I think we want to show them how to use kindness to get what they really want, because what they really want is a friend. They hit somebody because they want company, they want to interact, and they don't really want an enemy. They want a friend. They just don't know how to get one.
Yeah, even in business, I think there's room for kindness. It's the pressure. You're talking about the fear response with these kids that get bullied, and even the bully is reacting out of a fear response. And in business, there's so much of that. I see it from time to time in people that come to me for help, and they're talking about, business is down and I got to get more business and I got to reach out, and they're asking for business. Well, there's room certainly for some of that in any kind of business, but what I often suggest to people is, what are you giving this customer? Instead of, I'll get the sale and then I'll be nice to the customer and be sure and give them good service and even service after the sale. Well, how about starting the service before the sale and then magnetizing, in a sense? I mean, this really is a kind of a, like attracts like metaphysics here. You create a positive feeling, you're going to create a sense of loyalty and indebtedness. And God, she's a really nice guy, or she's a really thoughtful, wonderful person, and I'm going to do business with them. And that attitude of giving, whether it's in business or any one of our relationships, is an area where I think a lot of us can grow, especially when we're trying to grab, and hold on in these scary times.
Yeah, and you talk about opportunities to be kind, and the opposite of kind isn't being mean. I mean, you can be mean sometimes, I suppose, but what I'm talking about here is the opposite of kindness is not doing anything.
Not caring, you mean, like apathy.
Yeah, like in almost any given interaction with another human being, you have the opportunity to walk away from that experience with them thinking you were a kind person. If you say something nice or smile or make eye contact or offer some advice. I mean, I was on an airplane just a few hours ago flying back from the East Coast from a seminar I was doing, and there was this young couple on their honeymoon, and actually they were sitting like a seat apart, and I was in between them, and they asked if I'd trade seats with them so they could sit next to each other. Of course, I was willing to do that, and we struck up a conversation, and I invited them to come visit my place. I could have done nothing. I wanted to be kind, because there's two reasons really. Because I saw, here's this really happy young couple on their honeymoon, and I could add to that and make it an even more wonderful experience. And because I've discovered in my life that next to being in love, giving, being kind, being generous, being philanthropic is the best feeling I know.
This is one of the first prescriptions I offer those clients of mine who complain about depression. I mean, there are many things that we can do to manage our sadness and our depression, and we all get depressed for short periods of time. I think anything short of 3 days is the kind of melancholia that we all experience from time to time. But to help shake yourself out of that depression, be kind.
Yeah, do something nice for somebody else.
somebody
Get your mind
else.
off of you. Yeah, it's a great idea.
Yeah, and yet why is it not more obvious, Stephen?
I think a lot of times people who are depressed think that if I go out there, that I'm going to depress them rather than but really, you could go out there and listen. You know, just listening is a wonderful gift. Being nice, doing something kind. You don't have to spend money to do kindness. You know, just a smile is kind. I mean, whenever you check out of the supermarket, you have the opportunity to be kind to that person who's checking out or not. 99 times out of 100, you're not. But you could choose to say something nice. If only because of the fact that you're in the position in life that you are. Think about where you are compared to where other people might be. There was a great line from a Dylan song. He dropped a coin into the cup of the blind man by the gate and forgot about a simple twist of fate. It could have been me that was the blind man at the gate. Why be kind? Why be nice? Why be generous to people? Because they might need some help, and you're in a position to help them, and it could have been just the other way around.
Well, there but for fortune. That
Yeah,
kind of
exactly.
thing. So then the ability to empathize is really primary to even having the awareness that it's in your interest to lead with giving. You know, I've always favored the allegory of the seed. You know, James Allen says your dreams and your goals are the seedlings of reality, and so to give something to other people, to be kind to other people, that's a seedling. And great religious masters have said that we reap what we sow. And there's lots of ways to say that. What goes around comes around.
And in the end, the love you take is
There
equal
you
to
go.
the love you make.
Very nicely said. You go where you look.
Yeah.
You get what you expect. Life does tend to be a self-fulfilling prophecy. In relationships, the golden rule.
Even better, Tony Alessandra has the platinum rule, which is do unto others as they would have you do unto them.
If
you know what they want.
If you know, yeah. Don't
Doesn't work
always
with strangers.
know.
Actually, if
You
think
could
about-
ask, I suppose. That would be
yeah,
a
you
kindness.
could. There's really, I think, sort of almost two kinds of kindness. There's kindness to strangers and people you don't know very well at all, and then there's the kindness as a habitual experience in a relationship, like as the lifestyle, as the default mechanism. You know, I mean, my wife frequently says of all the qualities that she loves about me, the number one is that I'm kind. You know, and I'd put it way up at the top for her too. You know, being kind is so. It makes you feel safe. It makes you feel warm. It makes you move toward and want to be with. You know, so random acts of kindness, that's not enough. How about purposeful acts of kindness? Like in any
Deliberate acts.
Deliberate acts. In any given day, there must be at least 5, 10, 20 situations where you run across strangers. You know, I mean, at the supermarket or checking out or buying something or going somewhere. And in any of those circumstances, you have the opportunity to do just two things that could be like smile and say something nice. 2 things that really constitute being kind.
It's just got to be that people are so stressed, and we've forgotten this, and media's not reminding us of it. Who would argue with the idea that to be kind generates benefits to the giver as well as the one who receives the kindness, that you always benefit from that, you always get a feel good? So why do we so easily forget that? Why don't we spend more of our lives consciously seeking to do acts of kindness? As you said, not so random, but deliberate, conscious acts of kindness. Given all the benefits that we get as well as give, I'm a bit baffled, even as I look at my own life. Am I just too busy to think of it that often? Maybe that's it.
Well, again, I like to look at it in the 2 different ways, the kindness to people you know and kindness to people you don't know. So let's look at...
Well, the first is easier, for sure. Is that what you're saying?
Not really, because in kindness with people that you know, sometimes if you know them really well, you take them for granted, and you sort of forget to do kind things. You don't do unkind things, but you miss a whole lot of opportunities to be kind that were there that just go on by. I think that happens a lot with relationships where they sort of take each other for granted after a period of time. But in the other kind, where people with opportunities to be kind to strangers and to people you don't know, I was talking about this at my seminar the other day. I think a lot of it comes from the fact that the history or the evolution of humans was that there was a very small us and a very big them. At one point it was like the tribe was us and everybody else was dangerous. Everybody else was the enemy. Everybody else could invade and hurt us. So we have this very insulated idea of who's us. And so when we see strangers on the street, we don't think of them as us. People tend to think of them as them, and they get messages from childhood like don't talk to strangers and things like strangers are bad, strangers are dangerous. So to interact with a complete and total stranger for some people feels extremely uncomfortable and even dangerous to do. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's one of the reasons we don't do those acts of kindness with strangers is because they scare us. They're not us.
I think it's a good point. That speaks to the idea of people in small towns are kinder. Now, I grew up in a small town, currently live in a small town, spent a lot of time in small towns, plus 35 years in Los Angeles and 4 or 5 years in Detroit. So I know both sides of that. It's very easy not to know people in a small town. It's not like Mayberry where you know everybody, but still the fact that you're in a small town, I think it's easier to tip your hat, to smile and nod on the street, to say howdy, hello. Well, I don't know their name, but they look familiar. I've seen them all my life around town. But a big city, the chance of running into anybody you know is slim to none. So maybe that's part of the problem, just urbanization, and then that's part of our culture that we're starting to lose.
I think that's right. I mean, I always lived in Los Angeles from the day I was born until I moved here to something smaller than a small town. I live in a hamlet. I live in like maybe a community of like 30 or 40 families or something. And everybody says hi. I mean, and you drive the Hana Highway and you wave. I wave at everybody. Strangers aren't strangers in a real small situation like this. But in Los Angeles, you're afraid to make eye contact sometimes. You're afraid to. You certainly wouldn't wave at a stranger in Los Angeles
unless you were in some other kind of grouping, like people who ride motorcycles.
There you go.
Will wave at each other.
Right, or 2 new Beamers pulling up at the red light next to each other. The thumbs up guy.
Right. So,
because they become us.
Truck drivers do that.
Yeah.
I don't know who he is. I got no idea.
He's one of us.
But I can empathize and sympathize because we're both in the similar situations and having the same kind of experiences, probably listening to the same kind of music on the radio and so on.
So maybe kindness is normal when you feel like it's an us, and maybe the secret is to make bigger us's.
And fewer them.
Fewer them, so to include more in the idea of what is us, and to minimize. The only thems are evil people. Everybody else is us now. The only them were dangerous people, and that was everybody that wasn't the tribe at one point. Now, there are very few dangerous people. Unfortunately, one dangerous person can ruin it for a whole lot of people, but most everybody's not dangerous anymore to us. So most everybody else can become us, and so therefore we can do purposeful acts of kindness to virtually everybody we meet.
Yeah, I think when we talk about us and them, or us or them, maybe the or and the and is the key to all of that. I like to talk about moving the world, or me moving my world and you moving your world, from a you or me point of view to a you and me point of view. And that's something any individual can do for themselves and change the whole world around you, or seemingly, by changing your attitude about it. We tend to think we've got to get a grip and somehow have an impact on the world and persuade the world to change, when in fact it's so much easier to change the way we look at the world.
Indeed.
And that makes all the difference.
Gandhi said, be the change you wish to see in the world. Well, I think most people would like to see a kinder world. I certainly would. So being kinder is a good step to creating a kinder world.
I think it's Ramana Maharshi, an Eastern yogi or guru, who said something like, you can cover the world with leather, or you can just slip on some sandals.
That works a little easier. They both accomplish the same thing. One's just a whole lot less work.
A lot less work.
And how hard is it to be kind? I mean, let's put this in perspective. You're buying groceries. You're checking out of the supermarket. How hard is it to, instead of ignoring the person who's checking you out or just talking biz, saying something nice to them, saying something like what a good job you're doing, or smiling and saying like thank you for the help. I mean, it's not like it doesn't cost anything. In fact, it reaps great benefits. It makes you feel good,
especially when we're frustrated. It seems to me what a perfect opportunity. And for those who believe karma is a literal thing, there's that as well. But whatever your sense of banking points in this universe, or if you reject the concept altogether, I don't see that it matters much. In the moment, you're going to get an immediate benefit when we are conscious enough to say, this person is really irritating me, and I can be angry and curt and insulting and add stress to both of our days, or I can choose right now to be kind and forgiving and thoughtful.
And diffuse the whole situation.
Yeah, express a little appreciation, and instead of yelling at the waitress who gave me bad service, I could overtip and say, you look exhausted, like you really had a hard day. You totally changed the reality. And what do we lose? Nothing. What do we gain? Volumes.
And you get to think higher of yourself. You get to think like you're a better person, because you are a better person.
And feel. I'm thinking a feeling that comes from that.
You are a better person when you do that. I think that's pretty obvious. I mean, if a person is kind frequently versus a person who's infrequently kind, the kind person's the better person. This is as good a gauge as there is about who's a good person. So acts of kindness. Now, again, with strangers, it can be just a word or a smile. But in relationships where you're with someone, a lot, a partner or a spouse or a child, this needs to become like a lifestyle. The kindness needs to become like the default, like you're always kind except if there's a reason to not be, kind of thing, which means that you're not missing the opportunities to do nice things. That they're there frequently. You're going to miss some, but if you're conscious of looking for opportunities to be kind, I mean, making things happen, choosing a way. In business, I think I've always appreciated Ken Blanchard's 1 minute manager concept. Find somebody doing something nice and pat them on the back and say something nice and compliment them in front of their peers.
Yeah, do that in front of their peers for sure. Criticize constructively in private, but commend in public.
Yeah.
And then everybody wants a little.
So it's not only kind to the person you're giving it to because you're being kind to them, but their peers are hearing it and they're thinking, well, maybe if I do something nice, I'll get one of those pats on the back too, So it makes the world go round a whole lot easier too.
It creates a great culture.
It does.
I think the problem that a lot of us have at home is we do start to take each other for granted, no matter how much we may love and appreciate and value the other one. You spend a lot of time, you see each other at your best and at your worst. You get to know each other so well, you are completing each other's sentences. I found early in my marriage that I was starting to say things to my wife that were part of my own internal dialogue. And it wasn't until I said them out loud to her, and then she would say, well, why would you say that? Why are you talking to me like that? And I'd think about it and say, well, that's the way I talk to myself. That's my internal critic beating me up, holding myself in check, my own negativity. Now, ironically, because I love my wife so much.
And you feel so safe.
So safe.
Yeah.
I know I can get away with it.
Yeah.
But it's not a conscious thing. And she taught me not only to stop talking to her that way, but then I was able to stop talking to me that way.
That's so important. We haven't even talked about the idea of being kind to yourself. That's really where it sort of has to start, doesn't it? And that means when you say bad things to yourself, when you criticize yourself, or when you imagine bad things happening, this is called worry. When you do bad things inside your head, what you need to do is be kind to yourself. And I think the brain's thing is to be kind to it is to breathe. If you stop breathing, your brain feels like you're in danger, and it doesn't like that. If you breathe, the brain feels safe, and if that's an act of kindness to your brain. So whenever you have negative thoughts or feelings, whenever you're saying critical things to yourself in mean ways kind of thing, then what you need to do is you need to stop that pattern and make your brain feel safe and that you love it. And that means one conscious deep breath to start the process of changing from that negative self-talk to, okay, I'm no longer the thoughts. Now I'm up here. I'm above the thoughts. I'm looking and I'm seeing that I've got this part of me that's mad at myself, but I'm going to forgive that part, and I'm going to be nice to me right now. I've heard you. I heard what you had to say. You have no power to make me feel bad. You just have the power to come up, submit it for my reproval, and I have the ability to say, yeah, I'll let you make me feel bad, or I'll breathe into you and take away your power. The thoughts that you have about yourself, the negative thoughts, the unkind thoughts you have about yourself have no power unless you give them the power by holding your breath. If you have the unkind thoughts about yourself and you can take away all of their power, you can nullify all their power simply by breathing and making your brain feel safe.
It's a very important point. It's got to start with self-management. Rather than hoping we'll remember to be kind, we can cultivate, manage, maintain, foster, engender an attitude of that where every morning you get up thinking, in addition to my responsibilities today, I have a day full of opportunities to spread kindness, to be a diplomat of thoughtfulness, consideration, appreciation. I just bought a book the other day called Appreciation Marketing.
Nice concept.
Imagine.
That sounds like being first again.
That's exactly what it is. It's like instead of asking for the sale, you lead with, what can I do for you? And, there was a time where Free, you and I talked about the book Free the other day, and he talks about free in the past, the 50s, the 60s, the 70s. Free meant free, but there is no free lunch, so we know it's a come on. That's beginning to change now with the internet.
Yeah, there is real free now.
There's lots of free. I mean, Google is totally free, and other web services are free. Facebook is free. Twitter is free. Most websites are free. And most of what we do is absolutely free. There is an end of the day, of course, where somebody's got to pay for services. But fortunately, I like the model we use and the model that I learned from listener-supported radio. KPFK in Los Angeles and most PBS stations and NPR stations are listener-sponsored. Now, here's a model. Think of this, crazy model. We're broadcasting for free. Like every other radio station, you can tune in, you can listen, but a couple of times a year we're going to come to you and ask you if you'd like to help support this mission. And we'd get donations from $10 to $10,000. I had individuals donate as much as $7,000 to my radio program on KPFK. It was just remarkable. So here at Focus Passion, we ask 99 cents. That's basically to keep us commercial free. But 6 sample programs are free. All of our ebooks and texts are free. The webinar every Sunday at the Ageless Wisdom is free. The newsletter is free. The archive is free. The blogs are free. The audio archives are all free. And we mean that because more than selling anything, what we're doing is, I think, sharing our happiness and our enthusiasm. And in the way we're talking today, saying kindness is really a state of mind. It's a brainwave state. It's, as you said in the very top of the program today, it's a quality of love. It's associated with expanded consciousness or higher awareness in that everybody wins. And I just think it's really a good idea for us to think about this and how we can promote something everybody's got, kindness. Again, if you don't have money, people say, I don't have time, I don't have money. Well, maybe there's some flowers growing in the yard or some fruit on the back tree. Too many lemons, you can't eat them all yourself. You might as well give them away. Well, you can give them to your friends, or you can give them to that person up the block that seemingly has no friends. What a nice overture. And you can do it anonymously. You could even leave the little basket on the porch and They don't even know who it's from. You don't have to stand up and take credit. I think often generosity and kindness done anonymously is even sweeter.
Yeah, and if you're not sure how to be kind, there's one guaranteed way. Just ask, what can I do for you? If you don't know how to be kind to somebody, ask them, how can I be kind to you? I mean, what do you need from me? I think that's probably why my wife says my kindness is the most important quality, because I'm pretty consistent in asking, is there anything I can do for you? Is there anything you need? Can I help you with anything? And usually the answer is no. One of the coolest things about offering to help a lot is you get turned down most of the time. It's okay. She just needs stuff. But the fact that I'm asking frequently makes her feel like I'm really being nice. I'm really being kind. And I think that's a really important part. It's hard. Like, well, how do I be kind? I don't know what to do to be kind. Well, ask the person. With a stranger, you don't have to know what to do anything. Smile, say something nice, compliment them on their hair. But with a person, it's not do unto others as you'd have them do unto you. It's do unto others as they'd have you do unto them.
How about just say to somebody one day, you look great?
I say that all the time. And by the way, you look great. You've released so many pounds. You look wonderful.
Another area I'd like to talk about, because I feel so fortunate that I even stumbled into it. Years ago, as a young man, a friend advised me to join the local Chamber of Commerce, and I'd make a lot of good business contacts. But again, I did it out of self-interest. I thought, well, I can go to the mixer and meet people. I can pass out my business card. Never thought of collecting other people's business cards. I could ask for business. Never thought about giving them business. But I learned about that along the way. And then a friend of my wife's actually approached me with the idea of volunteering in the community, first to serve on the board of directors at the local YMCA. And I thought, well, that's a pretty cool idea, because when I was a kid, though it was in another state, another town, that's where I learned to swim. That's where we went and played basketball. That's where they had a club on Friday night for middle school kids to keep us off the streets and out of trouble. We called it surf. It was really cool. Place to go. You could do billiards and cards and hang out with the girls, and there was no cover, and it kept us off the street and kept us out of trouble. Well, it turned out I just loved it. It was really a nice responsibility. It wasn't hard work. It was just double-checking the books and helping to brainstorm and run this nonprofit organization. And after I did a full 6 years, I went to the Red Cross. Now, talk about volunteering. That's a wonderful place to volunteer, because they really train you in volunteerism. And we were using AmeriCorps workers, what used to be called the Peace Corps. And to meet that whole culture of people that find the time to volunteer is to introduce yourself to the most wonderful people that you might never otherwise meet. And again, to be able to do things for other people. We'd practice at the Red Cross for the big emergencies that hardly ever happened by helping people with the little emergency, like a single-family house fire, or the washing machine blew up and the house was flooded. And so we would just, especially if they were poor, we'd put them up in a motel for a night or two, and we'd help them with meals and food vouchers, and even drive them around. Or if somebody lost his tools and he couldn't work, we'd buy him new tools. We wouldn't buy him a new TV, probably, but if the bed was destroyed in the fire, we'd buy him a new bed. People don't really realize that the Red Cross is out there doing it. And it's just one of a number of organizations to choose from. And being a volunteer, boy, if you're finding what we're saying appealing, consider going the full route. And how much time have you got? A couple hours a week, or even just a couple hours a month? Think of the organizations in your community that would love to have you volunteer a little bit of your time. They'll train you, I promise. They've got, especially the Red Cross, but these others as well, they have very good training manuals. I was really impressed with the quality of the training the Red Cross provides.
That's cool. One of the things I've always admired about you is you're the master of the thank you card. You know, you are in any situation that could call for a thank you card. You find a way of sending a really cool thank you card. Now that's a very kind thing to do. You know, that's not necessary. It's not mandatory. Nobody would notice it if you didn't. But it's just reaching out, and I know it makes you feel good. You know, but make you take special pictures and you give them pictures of themselves and you surprise them with all kinds of stuff. That's a really kind, wonderful, nice thing.
I've got a website that makes it easy to do and very affordable and fun. I can understand most people would say, I don't have time to do that. And my God, the cards are $5 and then I got to write it and address the envelope. And well, there are websites now that do it all for you. So no excuse. It's real easy to do. And I begin my day with that every day, sending unexpected cards to people that, well, they might be clients of mine or former clients of mine or business associates or friends. And I just benefit in all of those areas from doing what almost no one does now, send real hard mail. Right?
Yeah. It's pretty rare, and it's special, you know, when somebody gets something like that. And, you know,
that's the first piece of mail somebody opens.
Sure, a card with their... Right, absolutely. You know, the little acts of kindness like the thank you cards or the big giant ones. I just, on the airplane ride home, I saw a movie called The Soloist. I'd read the book a couple of years ago. Robert Downey Jr., plays a reporter, and he finds this homeless guy who once went to Juilliard and was playing a violin with two strings, you know.
I saw the 60 Minutes thing on this. This is a true story.
Yeah, based on a true story. Now, this reporter, takes on this homeless guy as a project in his life, and he writes an article about him, and they get a cello donated. The cello was his real instrument. So he starts to play again, and he finds a home for him. And, that's an enormous act of kindness, you know, and that's not something many people could do in their life. But take a look at and put in perspective. This guy devoted much of his time to making this guy's life work. We're not talking about that on a regular basis, but you could create a project in your life. I have a big project in my life where I'm on the board of directors of a nonprofit organization. It's all about creating funds for scholarships for kids that can't afford these wonderful accelerated learning programs that Supercamp teaches. Some kids can't afford it. Lots of kids can't afford it. So we find a way to get money for those kids. And they write in their stories like, this is why I need it and this is what I would do with it. And we vote and pick who gets it, you know, how much. And it's a wonderful feeling to find ways to bring joy into the life of strangers. It's just a great feeling to do. That's a big project. The little projects are like saying nice things to this honeymoon couple and inviting them to stop by on the way. You know, little things, big things. The bottom line is if kindness starts to become something that's in your consciousness, then you'll find ways to do little ones and big ones.
Right. It's a choice, ultimately. It doesn't seem to present itself as an argument internally to me very often, should I or shouldn't I. If I have the thought to do it, I do it. I express the kindness.
And I don't think most people do. And again, we're not talking...
It just doesn't occur to them.
Right. We're not talking about unkindness as the opposite here. That's not even an issue in today's show. We're not really talking about being mean or cruel. What we're talking about is taking opportunities where you do nothing and instead doing something, even a tiny little something. Because think about it. Just extrapolate on the fact that if every day you did a few nice things for strangers, but if everybody did that, if 6 billion people in the world did just a few nice things for strangers, so that every stranger would get a few nice things done to them every single day and have the opportunity to do it, that would make a huge, huge difference in the world. The consciousness of the planet would raise tremendously. It would add compassion, it would add empathy, it would add understanding, it would make a much, much bigger us and a much, much smaller them.
I think just a week or two ago, I mentioned Dale Carnegie, who in the mid-30s wrote that famous How to Win Friends and Influence People book, and it's pretty simple. It's like, be kind. But he says it in a really clever way. He says, be genuinely interested in other people.
That's the key.
I think,
genuinely being
underscored and italicized with quotes in boldface.
Yes.
Genuinely. Well, why not? People are fascinating. You watch them at the mall and often make fun of them. How about watching them and love them and be really interested in them and care about them? It's not that big a shift. You still get to watch people and be interested in people. And, people really are lovable, especially when they're not afraid.
Yeah.
Even a junkyard dog. If that dog's mean, it's afraid. And if this person is mean and cruel and nasty and insensitive, It's just their fear. They're just stressed. They're just afraid. It's easy to be compassionate with people when you see their insensitivity or even their hostility as coming from a place of fear and anxiety. As we learn to manage our anxiety, then we can pass that on. To help somebody feel safe when they're afraid, be kind. Say something that helps them to feel safe. This is the kind of diplomacy, I think. We talk about spreading democracy around the world. Well, you can't do that by bombing people and shooting them with guns, but we can do it by being kind. I think that's what foreign aid is all about, sending our students overseas in exchange programs. And I think the people of the world are ready to be kind to each other. It's just the governments and certain big corporations and other institutions are standing in the way still, but that's going to change. I'm very hopeful that with the internet and other forms of new media, the world is going to reach out to the world, and the people of the world are willing to be kind to each other.
I think so, too. I mean, the idea of love thy enemy and turn the other cheek, Van Morrison said, I don't know anybody could be that meek, but we're not talking about loving the enemy. We're talking about realizing that strangers aren't the enemy. The only enemy is somebody that actually hurts you or does something bad to you. The vast majority of the planet, 99 point a whole bunch of 9% of the planet, are not your enemy. They're just strangers. And strangers could become friends with acts of kindness. If you want a friend, you be a friend. You don't hope that somebody will befriend you. You befriend somebody. And sometimes it's the easiest thing to do. I mean, on the airplane again today, I was just thinking how many times I was kind. I mean, I'm feeling kind of proud of myself. There was this couple in front of me.
You were rehearsing for the show today.
Maybe. There was this couple in front of me that had this little baby, and it was, like a lot of little babies on airplanes, when you go down, it's crying and it's hurting and everything. And you could hear the people grumbling about the baby screaming and crying. And, you could tell the couple was kind of feeling, like, oh, please be quiet, And, when we landed, I turned to the couple and I said, your baby has the most beautiful smile, And they just they just lit up. They just relaxed. It was just a word, but it made a huge difference to them because they thought everybody around them hated them. And when they heard that one person did, they thought, well, maybe more than one person doesn't have me.
Exactly. They're going to make the assumption that you spoke for a lot
more for a lot of people
than you may have. Yeah. Let's do an audio journey.
Let's do an audio journey. That'd be a kind thing to do for our listeners.
We'll install this whole concept. You know how it feels to feel kind, to either receive kindness because somebody offered it to you, or to receive kindness, yes, I'm repeating myself, because you offered it to somebody else. See, kindness, like love itself, is not a commodity that we pass back and forth. Whoever initiates kindness generates like a magnetic field that both people and all people involved stand within. So close your eyes.
And realize that if everybody waits for the other person to be kind first, nobody's ever going to be kind.
That's right.
So you've got to be first. Everybody's got to be first. And it starts by feeling safe yourself. So as Michael said, with your eyes closed now, take a deep breath and release. One more. Feel the peace. And set your mind on the idea of being kind.
In order to express kindness, you have to feel kind. Someone might say you need to be in the right mood. But I think you can call it to mind easily, the feeling of being kind, of having been kind to, and as I said a moment ago, harvesting also the rewards of being kind, initiating that to others. But doesn't it all rest upon feeling safe and relaxed in the first place? And so, in your body, from the top of your head to the soles of your feet, create and sense a letting go feeling really safe and relaxed. And how do you do that? Well, you pretend you really are safe and relaxed. Indeed, you wouldn't be doing this if you weren't right now. So let go of the past, let go of the future. And right now, feel safe and relaxed to consider kindness.
And consider kindness to yourself. Consider kindness to those that you love. And consider kindness to those who are yet to become your friends. But understand kindness may be the entree to create that friendship beginning. Be kind to yourself. When you're critical, mean to yourself, when you're overbearing and hard on yourself, step back. Take that breath. See the big picture of who you really are, not those thoughts, not those feelings. And choose to take the power from those unkind thoughts by breathing deeply into them. And choose to transform those sad or lonely or unhappy feelings into feelings of joy, feelings of peace, with your kindness to yourself. Say nice things to you. Visualize happy outcomes. Feel the feeling of being kind.
Yeah, remember a time not so long ago, or if you wish, maybe you recall a time that really was long ago, when you benefited from kindness, when someone was kind, thoughtful, considerate, grateful, appreciative, went out of their way to give you the benefit of the doubt. Whatever the circumstance, it matters not. Move your awareness, if you haven't already, from your head deep into your tummy, tending up toward the heart. And remember how that kindness felt.
Notice how it radiates from that center part of your body out into your extremities and up into your face and head. You can feel the smile. You can feel the cheeks puffed out as you feel proud and happy as you recall the opportunity of being kind, of having been kind, of having been the recipient of kindness. And now project yourself into the future, one day away. Imagine waking up in the morning to come and finding a way in this day to be kind to yourself, to those you care about the most, and to those you have yet to meet. Think about a way to do one kind thing, and perhaps that will lead to two, and maybe three or four. There's opportunities galore. You can be kind most any time of the day. It's easy, and if you don't know what way to use, then if your mind is confused, then just simply say, what can I do for you today? What can I do for you today?
Practice kindness with people in your life who merit kindness. And also practice kindness with those people in your life who really don't, at least on the surface, appear to deserve that kindness at all. Just say to yourself, deserving has nothing to do with it. I'm going to be kind. Just change your mind, change your attitude, and be kind to somebody for no reason at all. And then consider, as we've suggested earlier in the program, how it feels right now in your body to be kind to yourself. To treat yourself with gentleness and kindness as if you are someone that you really, really love. Don't worry, this will not pump up your ego. This is not going to make you arrogant or full of yourself. Quite the contrary. To be kind and gentle and loving toward yourself, to even forgive yourself, is a giving thing. And it will make you kinder and more loving. And it's a total win-win. One of the beautiful things about truly knowing yourself, you don't become arrogant or conceited. That's for people who don't know who they are. And so they're not kind. They don't even know where it comes from. Maybe think others might need to deserve it. And instead, the one who knows herself and himself is more likely to be kind to themselves, to others, and not need a reason to do it. The gift is in the giving.
And remember, being kind to yourself doesn't mean being free of negative thoughts. It means allowing yourself to think and feel anything you think and feel, and choose to be kind to yourself when you have those negative thoughts by breathing deeply. Your brain appreciates when you breathe deeply, and it takes those unkind thoughts and it takes away their power. It gives you the opportunity to release them and to replace them with positive thoughts. So it's very kind to yourself to have negative thoughts and feelings and release them, and then take that vacuum that's created by that release and replace it with positive thoughts and feelings, confident thoughts and feelings, happy and powerful, empowering thoughts and feelings. You have the power to blossom and flower and move toward all your dreams coming true by releasing the negative thoughts and replacing them with positive thoughts and simply being kind to you.
So as we conclude this relaxation exercise, this audio journey, guided imagery, visualization, this is rehearsing. This is like any other practice. Let's finish with a commitment. It's a gentle commitment. It's really easy to do. It's not a matter of forcing you to do anything. It's a matter of choice, of freedom, of real liberty to say, effective now, beginning in this very moment, I am determined to be more and more kind. Whether somebody deserves it or not, I will suspend my judgment and learn to be virtually unconditional in my kindness and my awareness of how I can promote harmony and understanding, peace, love, and even justice in the world that aches, that cries, that longs for and reaches out for a sense of belonging, connection, and a little bit of fairness. Commit yourself to it. It's a gentle thing. You can feel it even now within you. I'm going to do that every day in every way, a little more kind.
Love has many faces, but perhaps the easiest to express is simply being kind. So with that feeling in mind of simply being kind, bring your awareness back to your surroundings. Take a deep, slow, deep, conscious breath. And as you release, bring yourself back to wide awake.
And welcome back. These states of mind where we feel safe and relaxed, as you probably know, are called the alpha brainwave level. These audio journeys we do, we call it paradise thinking. Finding yourself in paradise is what we're talking about, but it's a brainwave state. It's a real place. You know you're there. Somebody asked me this the other day. You know you're there when the mind stops trying to distract you with a whole bunch of different thoughts competing for your attention. You're there when your mind gets quiet and your emotional nature gets calm. It takes a little practice. You don't have to calm the emotion and quiet the thought to do it. You do it so as to create the calm emotion and the quiet thought. But it's a practice, and we put an audio journey on the end of every single one of these programs. Why we like to invite you as a subscriber, a contributor to Focused Passion, to pay it forward, pass these programs along at no additional cost whatsoever. As many of these programs as you want, as often as you'd like to, as many people as you think would benefit from them. And all you do is go back on our website, focusedpassion.com. If you lost your password, just use the forgotten password field to request another one. It's totally easy to do. And right below the built-in player on our website, you'll see the button, Share One with a Friend, and get these out there. People are scared. These are scary times. These are tough times. And people will not only benefit from the program that you send them, they'll love the thoughtfulness and the kindness that caused you to take that action.
And, of course, you can check out all the unpurchased podcasts. You might find a few subjects that you're interested in there, too. You know, I was just thinking, you said, how do you know that you're in alpha kind of thing? And a quote came to mind from the late, great Janis Joplin. You know you got it when it makes you feel good.
Thank you, Janis. And as always, be gentle, love life, and take care of each other. For Steve Snyder, this is Michael Benner. Aloha from Maui.